Let me know if you hear any background noise, like Incredibles 2.
All right.
I hear him.
Ladies and gentlemen, the circus has come to town, and for once, I'm not talking about Off Track being the circus. The presidential debate is supposed to be about 7 minutes off. I expect that they'll probably be late. That is my first expectation for this debate that we're about to watch, is that they're not going to be on time. Yeah,
Well,
what do you think?
They can't shake hands, and how long does that take?
Right. So there is that.
So are we gonna see knuckle bumps or elbow rubs?
No, they're not supposed to touch at all, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
just a knuckle rub.
The knuckle
Rusty, you know what that is.
Knuckle bumps.
I don't.
I think-
I don't know what I'm.
I feel
No
like
way.
that's uncalled for.
What did they say this morning when they referenced that one girl on the train? What do you call it? Clicking. Ron called it something.
Oh,
The girl-
clicking the mouse, clicking the button.
It was something. Oh, button flicking
Oh,
or something.
Oh,
Isn't that something? I was listening to the
Alright.
show this morning. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something about clicking the mouse. He
Yeah, it
didn't
was
say that,
button
but
clicking.
I knew what he was talking about.
Clicking
Yeah.
out.
Yes. Well, the Daily Mojo on mojo50.com. If you're not catching it, you should be. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, you got to be a true jackhole.
All right, so let's talk
That's,
about what do we think is actually going to happen this evening. We'll start with Adam. What do you think? What are your expectations for tonight's debate?
I've been on Facebook a little bit today, and I've noticed that there's a little bit of a drinking game going on. So my expectations are about 15 minutes in, I'll be 3 sheets to the wind, and making some inappropriate comments, just like both of the D bags that are on stage tonight. I should say all 3.
That's true. There are going to be 3 D bags.
That's right. I forgot Wallace was up there.
I love Chris Wallace. He's my favorite Democrat.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's got to like him, I guess. So,
Well,
Melissa,
I
Any of
think-
those.
I think he's probably the closest thing we have as far as journalism goes to kind of treat both sides the same. In my opinion, anyways.
So, what? Oh, we lost your sound, Chris, or something.
what are your expectations, Melissa?
I think they're both going to lose.
Okay.
I disagree. I think we're going to lose and they're going to win.
There you go.
Oh,
I think
you both said the
that-
same thing.
I
But,
think
you
they're
know,
going to
Yeah.
I think I predict Trump is not going to have anything new to say.
Okay.
He's gonna bring all of the Sleepy Joe fake news, all of those drinking game things you saw today.
Oh
he's
my
gonna
God.
bring
If he says Sleepy Joe live on stage,
it. Yeah, I'll have to
I'm
drink
hoping.
this. I have my shots ready here.
right?
This is
If he says
bourbon.
Sleepy Joe live on stage, Adam has to take an extra drink for me.
My goodness. But I am upset that Mama Joe is not up there. I will be honest about that. I am sad that she didn't get up there, and I thought we were ready, honestly.
Well, that is the way
Thought
that
we were
the two
ready.
parties are going to maintain power, when they simply don't let the third party option
Yeah.
on the stage. So 3/4 of the country doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
Go check him
exactly.
out, Joe
So,
Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Rusty,
I
what do you
think-
think is going to happen?
I hope that Trump doesn't come out as aggressive. I think he needs to try to tone it back and stick to the issues, and maybe try to pull some of the center, some of the people on the fence, because there's a large portion of them, and I think it's going to be negative. It's going to have a negative effect if he goes in and just rips Biden, which I would love to see. But I mean, we got to think about, getting a center.
I have to respectfully disagree with you. I think he is going to come in with his guns a-blazing. He needs to show he's stronger, even if it resorts to elementary school bullying. Trump is going to come out.
Yeah.
He can't seem weak in front of Joe Biden, especially if Biden is doing well. And like, what is it? Giuliani said this morning, if Biden's taking his Adderall, he's going to be.
I think they might have given him an extra dose.
Maybe. Yeah, possible. What do you think, Vanessa?
I'm a little torn. I mean, if Biden can speak articulately and maintain that train of thought, then the American people, I think, are going to be a little surprised. Number one, but two, he might have a little bit of a chance. But I mean, I think Trump's going to come out and he's just going to say the facts, and that's what it is. My concern is that he's going to try and not bully him, but control the situation to enough where he's perceived as a bully, like you said. I'm kind of shocked we're actually having the debate, to be honest with you.
I think a lot of people are. This is very anticipated.
Yeah, I almost anticipated him to have COVID or something at the end where he couldn't participate. Oh my gosh, there's been a change of venue and look who's here now. That I wouldn't rule that out. But I just can't see, unless he's got everything scripted down. And if he goes off the script, Biden, that is, everybody's going to be drunk in the first 15 minutes. So,
I know. I even saw that Mike Rowe posted on his Facebook the drinking game too.
I mean, if Trump hair flutters, we get to drink. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty amazing actually, but it's going to be interesting to see. It's, I hope everybody has their popcorn ready.
Yeah, whoever put out the drinking rules really wants everybody to be drunk.
Oh, yeah.
The rules that I posted to Facebook earlier today on the Off Track page, that was a joke. Yeah. Please don't try and follow those rules this evening.
You'll be trashed.
I care about all of you, and I think that if you try to follow those rules, you might die.
Oh, come on. This is 2020. People have been drinking since March. They're good.
I wonder if we can get those statistics, Vanessa. Like ambulance or ER visits from alcohol poisoning.
From tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, you think people are kind of seasoned drinkers now. They've been drinking at home since March.
You are so right. You are absolutely right. That's a great point.
Oh yeah, because hashtag 2020.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm actually interested to see if Trump's going to fire him when he's on stage.
You're fired.
Or he's going to say, something about the question being fake news, or move along. We're not answering that. Move on next one.
Oh, with the taxes that came out, there's going to be fake news. Absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of $750 jokes going around.
I am really absolutely ready for the fake news. If you spot fake news.
Hi, Jennifer and Jamie over on the YouTubes, and Jason, Jeff, and John over, and Timmy.
So what, Chris? What are they saying on the TV? When's it going to start? It's 8:01.
The stage is still empty at this moment. We have 2 minutes and 25 seconds. They have a countdown on screen. I bet you they're still late. So.
They're like, yeah, they can't shake hands. They're like elbows.
I don't think they're going to
do it, darling.
I really don't. I think it's going to be the proverbial head nod and go to respected corners.
What's up? And there goes the hair.
Drink.
What's up?
It's going to be number one right there. Yeah.
Joe, spin 3 times. Now, where are you?
No,
there's no place like home.
That'll take him back to actually the Obama time. So it's all good.
So,
hey, hi, Elizabeth, Sarah, and Alexa. Thank you for watching the shit show tonight.
Yeah, I'll be switching over to a split screen here as soon as the candidates take the stage. You will be able to see us in the lower right-hand corner and the presidential candidates in the upper left-hand corner. And then we're going to Mystery Science Theater 2020 this thing. Because I didn't think it should be fair that anybody would watch this thing in a serious way.
No, I think no. I think it's almost better if we did something like this as something boring. I mean, all the jokes are going to be it's going to be a lot of low-hanging fruit tonight. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
do have my bell.
You have a
So,
bell? Okay, I have a bell.
Well, she's
well,
out.
Oh,
There's
Chris
always-
Wallace is talking. Hold on, let's see.
I
What he's
didn't get a
saying.
bell.
Ben Tracy, let's turn now to CBS's Ed O'Keefe. He is in the debate hall where the anticipation is building. Ed?
They're still talking to random Democrats that want you to believe that Biden is the second coming of.
Are we on Mojo 50 Facebook? Is that
No,
where we're
we
going?
are on the Off Track Facebook page. We are on the Liberty Tree Facebook page. We are on the Sean 6 YouTube page, but not on Mojo's page because the Defenders are live right at the moment.
Oh, that's right.
hi,
And,
Barbara.
I asked them if they wanted to join us because I didn't, I wanted to be courteous and I wanted to do this, but I wanted them to still do their show or be able to, and I wanted to combine things.
Right.
But they didn't want to do that this evening. So, well, just this once, we're broadcasting at the same time as you. Sorry, Stephen and Dylan.
Hey, Diana and Mike. Woohoo! Glad you're here. Sean is still in jail. That's why he's not here.
Yeah, we got Rusty out. There was enough money in the
Mhm.
in the bail fund to get Rusty out. We're
I
still
think-
working on getting Sean out. Apparently, he had a little bit more serious charges because he
I thought he was in the infirmary. There was some soap thing
right.
in the shower.
So he's still
So
in the
he's in the
hospital. He
infirmary.
hasn't made it out of the to the jail yet.
Yeah, he's actually in prison in the infirmary.
He was injured
So-
he was more seriously injured by the Testacuzzi accident.
And I told you about that, Chris. It's a real thing.
I know. But they were using the one that Rusty made with the egg beaters.
Ooh.
The egg beaters and Dawn.
Hey, let's do a sound check. Throw them back up, see what they're saying right now. I got somebody listening can tell us how
All
it's
right,
sounding on them.
Uh-huh.
20 presidential debates
Oh,
between President
comes Chris
Donald
Wallace.
J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the two candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The
Thumbs
audience
up
here
on
in the
sound.
hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you,
And
can
we
focus
can.
on what the candidates have to say.
That's right.
No noise except right now as we welcome the Republican nominee,
And
President
cheering,
Trump,
perhaps.
and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
Yay.
Can we do the wave? Would that work? And Mike said they're going to touch tips.
Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight, why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. we have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way, good in every way. In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they'd try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely would happen in reverse.
Yeah,
So
they
we
didn't
won
have the Senate.
election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on that, he ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court, and the justice, and I have nothing. I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person, but she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing
He's
is
correct.
Court, and if it's struck
Yes.
down, what happens?
Those
Women's
Mike's
rights are
correct.
fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man gets. And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
All right.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years.
The
And the
election's
100
already
million
started.
people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly
knows
going
that.
to socialist. You're going to socialist medicine.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said,
But
and it's not what
that
your
is-
party has said.
that is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party
Oh my
wants to go
gosh.
socialist
Well, they're-
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
And
the
they're
gonna have to
dominate you,
expand
Joe. You know
health
that.
care.
I am the Democratic
So
Party right
all of
now.
us can go to the
platform of the
proctology
Democratic
doctors
Party
and they
is
can
what
pull the money
I,
right out of our
in fact,
ass to pay
approved
for it.
of, what I approved of.
Yeah, I
Now,
don't know
here's
too many
deal.
people.
The
that can
deal
afford
is that
Obamacare.
it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on his watch. How many?
Wait, did he just say 200 million people have died?
7 million people.
Yeah.
that
Yes.
died of
He
COVID.
changed it.
What
He
does
changed
mean
it.
for
He
them
changed
going
it,
forward
but
if
you
strike
still
down
drink.
The Affordable
Damn
Care
it.
Act. And
He said 200 million people died.
Military people died because you couldn't provide them proper health
taking
care
a
in
shot.
the military.
Dad,
So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200. It would be 2 million
let's
people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected.
Oh,
You didn't want me
China.
to ban.
All right, gentlemen.
China, drink.
You would have been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
Much later.
Mr.
You're
President,
talking about 2 million people.
You're not gonna be able to
President, as
shut
the
him up.
moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but
All right, and for the moderator,
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And
Shut
so
it.
that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already
You don't know it's on the
begun.
ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is it
you
on the
said
ballot? It's not
you're-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
There's no ballot in the
Donald,
court.
would
And you
just
don't
be quiet
know
for a minute?
her view on Roe v. Wade. You
I
don't know
don't
her
know.
view.
well, all right. Let's talk. We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time. So
I think someone
on
can't
healthcare,
control the kids.
And then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case.
Poor Mr. Wallace,
a
he's
week
gonna have a
after
tough
the
night.
Election in which the Trump administration, along with 18
He can handle
state
it, though.
attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last
Because they
If
wanna
I-
give
if I-
good
if I-
health care.
If I may ask
Go ahead.
my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
We don't
I'll
need
get
to
rid of-
replace
when I
shit.
finish, I'm going to give you an
Excuse me,
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate.
Need to get
which
rid
is
of
a
it.
big
That is not a
chunk of Obama-
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I-
worst
I
part of
didn't ask
Obamacare.
Sir.
Chris,
You're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part of
me.
Obamacare.
Let me ask my
Well,
question.
I'll ask Joe.
I
The
know.
individual mandate was the most unpopular
Mr. Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like
and
you
we
to-
will
Mr.
protect people with
President, I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
by the way, Chris
I would
Wallace,
like you
I'm not
let
going
me
to listen
ask
to
my
you all
question,
night
and
long.
then you can
Shut up.
answer.
Go ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare. And just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something.
Wow.
Nothing symbolic.
Dang.
I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care.
Wow.
All of the things that we've done,
He has not cut
insulin. I
health
give
care.
you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs that what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you about,
big, this
you'll
is
be happy,
big stuff.
sir. You'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you
Shut
would
up,
like
Donald.
to add a public option to Obamacare. And
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
will, if I can
sorry.
ask you the question, it will
Not what your
end.
party says, by the way.
It will end private
Oh,
insurance and
stop,
create a
Donald.
government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option, number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie
Number-
Sanders, who's
I
far
did-
left, on the manifesto,
Well,
we
you-
call it.
well,
And that
manifesto-
gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you
I'm
saying
not
you
going to
didn't
listen to
agree?
him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm
Not
here.
by
I'm here
With the
standing
stick.
facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left
Well,
2 days early. You would have lost
Pocahontas.
every
All he
primary
knows how to
on
do
Super
is
crap.
Tuesday.
Is that a
You got
drink?
Very lucky.
Here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very
Thank
lucky
you, Des.
tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make
what?
sure, because
With what?
here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so
Jack.
far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out
He
his
didn't
lies.
say
Everybody
look or
knows he's
listen,
a liar.
folks.
But
He
you
said here's the
agree
deal,
with
me.
which
Okay.
should have been on the list.
I want to make sure.
I know.
Voted last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Malarkey
sure.
should have been
Can you
on
let
the
him
list
finish,
too.
sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be
you know,
surprised.
You're full of
you
malarkey.
pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy, the
Go
wrong
on, Joe,
night at the
go.
wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let, let him.
Is
Now,
There
this
is
Trump's
no manifesto.
strategy?
Please
Just
let him
keep
speak.
They're not
talking?
accomplishing
You just
anything,
lost the
but
left.
No.
Number
back and
two,
forth.
You just lost
You
the
know,
left. You agreed
Socialist
with
medicine
Bernie
doesn't work.
Sanders
I'm
on
from
a
Canada.
plan.
folks,
Absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you have
to,
any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
that's
this clown's
socialized. They
doing?
call it
I don't like this
you have
strategy
to
at all.
Socialized medicine.
Now, let me just beat
Tell
you
you
down
what,
with a stick.
He
Can you
is
beat me down
not
with a stick?
for any help for people needing health care. Because
Donald needs to settle down.
Because he, in fact, already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two,
yeah.
there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't
that
ever
true?
look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give them
Number
better
three.
health care.
Anybody here doing the
price.
fact checking
By the way,
tonight?
he doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to do
We
that.
have a fact
He
checker?
has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
Or
it
we're,
to an
no, we're
extent.
just here
He
for the
has
yuck yucks. Never mind.
As you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you
is
realize
no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at
I mean,
the same
Obamacare
time,
And it's too
expensive,
expensive.
from what I
let the
understand,
president's.
correct?
Go ahead.
It is.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to
Just
make
got a
very
text
early on.
message that
We
there
took
is
away the individual
one
mandate. We
that
guaranteed
includes the word
pre-existing conditions,
malarkey.
but took away the
So there
individual
is a
mandate.
list, a drinking game that
Listen,
includes
this is the
that.
way it is. And that destroyed, that they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people, okay? I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
And I
known
just had a meeting with them. They said, the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive,
I got you.
premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what his
So
people
we
said.
do want to get rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open
want to get rid of it
I
and
understand
give
it, sir, but
something
I have to. I
cheaper
have to
and
give you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care. Of
course we do.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right.
He's-
All right,
One-
Joe, what's
one
yours?
Final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how
you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't wanna
you're a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a
is
lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justices,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
on,
man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
Oh,
Gentlemen,
Yeah, that's drink the bottle.
I'm drinking.
we have ended this segment. We're going to
Who
move on
told
to
him
the
to shut
second
up?
segment.
Did Biden
That was
just
really a
tell Trump to
productive
shut up,
segment,
man?
wasn't it?
yeah,
Biden just told Trump to shut up.
Man.
The people understand, Joe.
yeah.
Man, right?
47 years you've done
I'll
nothing.
be right
They
back.
understand.
I got to re-up.
The
All right,
second
all right.
subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So Let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we
Well,
produce
you mean 200
a
million
vaccine,
according to Biden?
experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was.
The president
He
has
knew
no
it was a
control
deadly
over a
disease.
freaking
What
worldwide
did he do?
virus.
He's on tape as
Yeah,
acknowledging
and it's
he knew
okay
it.
if people
He
get
said he
it.
didn't
That's how
tell
you build
us or give
credibility.
people a
You
warning
want
of
them.
it because he didn't
They're
want
not
to
dying.
panic the American people.
Underlying
You
issues
don't
are the cause
panic.
of people
He
dying.
panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing.
Just
He-
like
he
Rocky
waited
just
and waited
said,
and
you
waited.
mean
He
when
still doesn't
Trump
have a
wanted to
plan.
close the borders,
I
but then he
laid
called
out
him
in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives. So if we would have listened to you.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's
They can't get the
xenophobic.
count
He's a
right
racist,
here,
and
let
he's
alone
xenophobic
other places.
because you didn't think we should have closed our country.
No, just
Wait a
start.
minute.
It's his 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you didn't
done.
do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
Far
there was
less
no
lethal
recession.
disease,
You made a
by the way.
point. Let him answer it.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down. The reason it
You
shut
just
down
said
is
he should have
because-
done it earlier.
You folks at home,
Yep.
how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
people?
Pull in the
Far more people.
heartstrings.
And
You would have been.
Yeah.
by the way,
It's all about
only
feelings.
His
How
own,
would you
his
deal
own
with it? Wasn't
CDC
Nancy
director
getting hair
says
done?
we could
Feel.
lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up, he said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by
Yeah,
the way,
that's not true.
in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
& Johnson,
It's
Pfizer?
not like Trump's
we-
making it
okay.
into
Okay.
his own
Gentlemen,
words.
And
gentlemen, let me
The
move
left
on
quotes
to
Bill Nye.
questions about the future, because you both have
don't
touched
say
on
they
one of
trust
the-
science.
Two of the questions I'm going to ask.
Bill Nye.
Focusing on the
Yeah.
future,
Scientist.
President Trump,
Right.
you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr.
And even get
Slaoui,
whether
the
we
head
should
of
wear
your
masks or not
Operation
wear
Warp
masks,
Speed,
what we should
has said
correct.
exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer.
Come on,
I've spoken
man.
to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot.
The bell was
Very
for two
political
Johnsons.
Because the left, or I don't know if I
So
call it
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what
that
I
But
call
the
it.
head of
company's
your
name is
Operation
Johnson
Warp
&
Speed,
Johnson.
Dr.
I
Slaoui,
disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be
just
there,
sounds
but it could
gay.
also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before
What's
November
up,
1st.
Fish?
It could also
I'm
be
talking about
after
when it's
that.
generally available, not when it
Well,
will
we're going to
be.
deliver it right away. We have the military all set up
Eric Miller's
logistically. They're
on
all set
on
up.
the Facebook
We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000
Fishy,
a day.
fishy, fishy,
They're going to
fishy.
be
This is
delivering
the
the
same man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it.
Oh my
vaccine.
God.
That's sarcastic.
Oh,
I would've
no,
said
he
that.
didn't.
I would've
Yeah,
said
he went there.
sarcastic.
So here's the deal.
Wow.
This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
You'll have
on
the
that.
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying you can't, or
knows.
Senator
And-
Harris is saying you
no,
can't trust the scientists.
No, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can trust
She said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not, they're the people, and by
I
the way.
spoke to the
and
scientists
Now
that are in
Biden's coming
charge.
alive.
They will have the vaccine very
Does-
soon.
Let him finish.
Do you
Medication's wearing off
believe for a
quickly.
moment what he's telling
Yep.
you in light of all the lies
might
he's
fall
told
asleep.
you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record
shut
as
the
saying
damn
it.
country
He
down.
panicked,
Or
or he
shut
just
the
looked at the
airport
stock
down.
market. One of the
Fine,
two.
but-
Because guess what? A lot of people died. And a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Whoa.
Because you know
Damn.
what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see
would have
this.
had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by
This
the way,
is
now
a
it's being
gloves
built
off.
again.
You see,
And it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to talking
When it
about
comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is.
If I was running-
provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to
Good one.
reopen with the
Caught
PPE
that.
as well as with the sanitation they need.
His
You have to
pee-pee.
Tell
provide
that to
them
Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi and Schumer,
by the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy
Chuck,
Pelosi
you
and
son of
Schumer,
a
they
bitch.
have a plan. He won't even meet with
Stupid
them.
bastard.
The Republicans
back
won't meet
later.
with the
Okay.
Senate.
Oh, Lord,
He-
crying
he
Chuck.
He sits on his golf course. And,
I was
mean,
really
literally,
trying to
think
root
about it.
Biden
probably
tonight.
play
Think
more than
about
I
it.
do, Joe.
Devil's advocate
what
thing
about
here,
this
and I'm
question
really
of
having a
reopenings
difficult
and the
time.
fact-
Well, he wants to shut down this country. And I want to keep it open. And we
You
did a
ju- he
great
just
thing by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute, Joe.
Let him
Let me
finish,
shut
sir.
you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November
I want to
3rd.
move on to another
Because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to
thing.
another
I've got to
subject.
respond.
But those states,
gentlemen, I
those
want to move
states
on to
are
another
not
subject.
doing well that are shut down
Which is
right
gotta
now.
respond to that.
Wants
President
to shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay. You have to
masks?
understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't
Oh, is
wear a
that-
mask
is
like
that-
him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say
Vice President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money, the
But
Congress.
I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
we didn't
also
do
said
that.
shut down for 2 weeks.
No serious person said the
Yeah,
opposite.
we've been wearing masks.
So, well,
People
look,
should
all
be
right,
educated.
wanna
Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the
He did
opposite.
not
I
say
want to
the
ask you, we
opposite.
got a
Said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks good. I'm
wanna
okay
ask-
with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both about
masks.
one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside, yes, sir, agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Nobody will show
That's
up.
because nobody wants to see you.
What's true? Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You goes first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not worried
hangars,
about
and we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean,
Drink.
and literally on 24 hours.
Tremendous.
And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did
This-
you
this-
see one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing on one another.
We've had no negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect, and we've had 35,
All
40,000
right. Do you
people
want
at
to
these rallies.
just
Yes.
quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next?
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraged them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the
Nobody cares.
gentlemen? Can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy.
Oh my God. Rally says he doesn't do big rallies because it interrupts his nap and pudding time.
Much faster.
In the second quarter,
Yeah,
the unemployment
pudding.
rate fell to
I'm out of pudding
8.4%
thoughts
last
already.
month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped
happen.
recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean
A K-shape?
to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically
say
to do.
China
He didn't think
virus.
we should close
I
it down,
know.
and he was wrong.
He was close.
Again, 2 million people would be
Close
dead
enough.
now instead of still 204,000 people
Cheers,
is
Rusty.
too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're
The River
reopening, and
Fish
we're
says he
doing
would watch
record
CNN
business.
more often if
We
he
had
could get off track in
10.4
the bottom
million
right-hand
people in a
corner.
4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of
Thank
which
you, Fishy.
nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close
Thank
down. He
you.
will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people.
That's a way to
between
increase
drugs and
CNN's ratings.
alcohol
We should
and
pitch that to him.
depression, when you start
Just
shutting
put
it
us in the
down,
lower
we should.
left-hand
What's
corner
happening
and
in
we'll
some of the
mock your
Democrat-run
people and you'll get
states
better
where they have
ratings.
these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you,
Oh,
it's because
especially their
they don't
morning
wanna open
shows.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Poppy?
Last week, you saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to open up
The
on
morning
November 9th.
schmo?
November
No, he's not
9th,
on
because it's
CNN.
after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But
wash
they
their
got to
hands.
open these states up.
Basic.
When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well,
Well, the
setting
business is
records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right, your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question, the
Barbara's
president says
asking
it's a
if there's an
V-shaped
after
recovery.
party.
You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
Probably.
Possibly.
I say yes.
Millionaires and
Possibly,
billionaires
I
like
say we
him,
keep it
in the
rolling
middle of
after
the
this
COVID crisis
nightmare.
have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and
What?
he only focused
What?
on the
What?
money.
What? What?
Jib-
Say it again?
You folks living in Scranton and
Are you
Claymont
joking?
and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing?
You know,
This guy
the
paid
thing.
a total of $750 in
wrong.
taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir.
There it is.
There it is, drink.
There it is.
So please let
Drink
him
it
know.
up.
Get my
Drink
time
it
back.
up.
The fact is that he is, in
Wait,
fact,
wait a minute,
worked
I
on
don't-
You can't
this in a
reclaim
way
your
that he could
time.
be the
This
first
isn't-
president of the United States
This isn't
to
Congress,
leave
moron.
office having fewer
And I'd like to
jobs
say
in his
this.
administration
He's
than when he
preaching
became
about
president.
taxes
Fewer
while
jobs
last year
than when he
raking
became
in
the first one in American history.
$974,000.
Secondly, the
Kiss my
people
ass,
who
Biden.
have lost their jobs are
No,
those
but
people who have been on the
Bill
front
said they only
lines.
had
Those
made
people who have been
400,000.
saving our lives.
No,
Those
that's what they
people
paid
who have
in
been out
taxes.
there dying.
okay.
People who've been putting
Rocky
themselves
says
in a way to
they
make
should make
sure
him
that we
find
could all
Scranton on a
try to
map.
make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America.
I'd say the
And he wants
governors
to
weren't
open
doing a
it
very
up
good
more.
job then,
Why does he want
Joe.
to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools. Why are schools
You've been in
open?
Washington for
Because it
47
costs
years.
a
You
lot
haven't
of
made
money
anything
to
better
open
for anybody.
safely.
Shut up.
Well,
They were going to give his
Exactly.
administration give the teachers and school
wasn't
students
Trump gonna,
masks. And
do
then they
another
decided,
stimulus,
no,
but
couldn't do
they
that
held
because
it
it's not
back?
a national
Yeah.
emergency.
Is that not correct?
Not a national emergency.
I'm not
They've done
sure
nothing
though,
to help small
to be
businesses.
'Fair, I'm not sure
Nothing.
what
They're
else was in
closing.
that bill.
1 in 6
Yeah,
is now
they were
gone.
trying to tax
They ought
shit
to
on.
get
The Democrats have
Yeah.
kept that one
Sorry.
back because it wasn't large enough. They didn't spend enough.
Open safely.
All right, your time is up, sir. We are going to get to the.
Wasn't big enough.
Respond to that.
Well, you've
Yeah, it
got
wasn't big
2
enough.
minutes, sir.
The Democrats are
Excuse me,
size
let me
queens.
statement.
So did you.
People want their schools. No, people want
That's
their
right.
schools open. They
So
don't wanna be
every
shut
state
down.
that's
They don't want their
Democratic is
state shut
having
down.
all
They
these
want their
different
restaurants. I look at New York. It's
rising
so
everything
sad
else
what's happening in New York. It's
that we're
almost like a
gonna
ghost town.
affect the
And I'm not
country
sure it can
if they're
ever
elected.
recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want
Come
their
back,
schools
Barbara.
open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me and.
Oh,
I'm very
yeah,
happy
sir.
to
I
do it.
definitely want to hear him bring up
People of
Hunter.
Ohio are very
For
proud
sure.
of me, and you know
We're
how
going
I
to get
found
back.
out? When he took a
Gentlemen,
phony
we're going to
ad.
get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax
Right.
each of those years.
He donated his entire
I know that you
salary.
pay
How does he have
a lot of
taxable
other
income at all?
taxes, But I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid
At least.
millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million.
Show us
That's
your
true.
tax
2005. I read
went.
it. I read it
You'll
back
see
in
it as soon as it's
2017.
finished. You'll see it. You know, if you wanna
2005, he
go
paid
to the
$38
Board of
million
Elections,
in income
There's a
tax.
118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a very, I built a
Sir,
great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific question, which
But
is.
let me tell you-
I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand all of
return.
that.
But let me-
No, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750?
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see
When?
it. But let
In
me just
Shalom?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired
no,
right after that happened. But
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him
Look,
put him in a position
Drink.
that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax
Okay.
cuts.
You're-
And make
Why?
sure that we invest
Hey,
in the people
Chris-
who in
Chris,
fact
What
You're,
effect does
you're-
that have on the economy?
people out
He
there-
wrote
Your
the
audio
tax
is
code.
awkward.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Yeah.
Because you are-
You
Yeah.
wrote the tax
Every-
code.
every
jackass.
bureaucrat-
things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
Yeah,
the
worst
every
one
bureaucrat
America has ever had.
that's been
Come
in
on,
office
let me just
as long
say,
as he
Joe, I've done
has
more
is responsible for the
in
tax code.
47 months, I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing,
Okay,
including
gentlemen.
fixing the broken military that you gave me,
Let's-
including taking care
We're
of your
talking,
vets.
Mr. President, we're talking
When
about
are we
the
gonna
economy.
get to
I'd like
race?
to ask you about your plans going forward.
Oh, my God.
Because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what has the analysis been done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make the federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to
where are they gonna
eliminate
do that?
a significant number of the tax. I'm
There's
going to
hardly any
make
companies that are doing
the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
Right.
your
I got
tax
it.
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what
Yeah,
happened?
you got it
Oh,
done.
wait.
Economy boomed.
What?
No. Wait, what?
Let me,
Right?
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You
no.
would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for American people.
But let me.
Excuse me.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy
Not
booming.
lower
It
tax?
turns out that in Obama's final
Whoops,
3
did he
years
just tell
as
the truth?
president, more jobs were created,
Yeah.
1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty
Half
of
of the
companies that are
companies-
already here, they'll leave for
hardly
other
any companies
places.
have
They will
poured in
leave,
here.
and you will have a
Have it.
depression, the likes
Mhm.
of which you've never seen.
Look,
Mr.
we
Vice President.
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We had a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
To be
booming.
fair, you were also
It
told
wasn't
to
booming.
cure
It was-
cancer,
it was
and
the
yet here we
weakest
are.
recovery
Well, sir, is it
since
fair to, wait, is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact, there was
COVID came in.
when there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me, Chris, wait.
Number two.
no.
They said it would take, no, you're number two.
This is why I hate
Chris,
politics.
they said it would
This
take a
guy.
miracle.
I've always wanted to
bring
do
back
that to a politician when they
manufacturing. I brought
lie.
back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not
my
agree.
standard fare.
I'm the guy
He
that brought
totally
back the
gave up on
automobile industry.
manufacturing.
All right, let him.
I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back.
That's
right
gonna
here
be
in
the
state
line of the
Ohio
night.
and
I
Michigan.
brought back the
He blew it.
automotive
They're
industry.
gone. He blew it.
He's
In
Al
fact,
Gore in the internet right
Ohio
now.
had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies came in from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan, went to Ohio.
They're not having
And
it.
they
Mr.
didn't
Vice-
come in
wait,
with
wait,
you.
Mr. Vice President.
No,
And
it's
so
not
take a look at what
true.
he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before.
Oh, no,
We have the
that was
highest
bad.
trade deficit.
China
That was
ate
horrible.
your lunch, down
All right, gentlemen,
18%.
in-
China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out
Mic
billions
drop.
of dollars to manage.
that
He makes
wasn't on the
millions of
drinking
dollars.
list.
And also,
Here's it,
while we're
Hunter.
at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to
Oh,
deserve it?
there it
What did
comes.
he do
Here we
with
go.
his
None
Everybody
of that-
finish your drink.
$183,000?
You've
of
asked
that
a
is
question,
true.
let him answer. If
None of that is true. It's
Oh, really? He didn't
totally,
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please.
totally
ask a question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he
we're
didn't get
talk-
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
It is not true.
Oh,
Here's-
really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But, Mr.
it's an open discussion, please.
Oh, Lord.
It's a fact.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not a
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
But
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
no
my
job?
son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
and
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And you
The media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies,
talk
by the
about it
World
because they're
Bank.
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified.
Carry on,
under
guys. I'll be
oath-
back in just a
So
minute.
under
Let me ask you
oath,
this,
under-
Joe.
under
No,
oath,
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to you.
even People under.
You got 3.5
Don't shake
million
it twice.
from Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I did
really?
it
I'd like to know
honorably.
who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do a
Well,
good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
said-
You get the, wait a minute. You get the
This is
final word.
hilarious.
It's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey,
this
let me just
person.
say, Joe.
No, Mr. President.
Three
I
and a
don't
half
have to-
Whoa!
That is simply.
We're into that,
deserve
Rusty.
3.5 million from
Did-
Moscow.
Look,
No, I
here's
don't
the
think
deal.
that's appropriate.
I
I don't
talk
care
about
if he, I
families
just
and
don't think they
ethics.
should call the president.
I don't want to do that.
Clown
I mean,
and
his
things like
family we
that.
could
He's
talk
still
about
the
all night.
president.
His family's already.
Agreed.
Imagine if somebody called Obama a clown.
Oh my God, no, they'd be locked up.
With government.
And that's such
And they're
a.
right here.
Mr.
That's such
President.
Every
a great.
single one of them lost.
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't pay
American
$3.5
people.
million
He
for
doesn't.
nothing.
That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
you
here.
should-
All right,
Not
that's the end
about
of
here.
that's the end of the
Shouldn't
segment.
take the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President,
but Chris,
no,
can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
I-
He
I-
stood up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
That
get rid of
is
the
If you're-
press.
you know what? You're
absolutely not
stop.
true.
Tape doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
tape.
True.
Gentlemen.
Is-
I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice,
he's
but
on
it seems to
tape.
me, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the
Got a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more
Well,
interrupting
that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
there's
than,
plenty.
no, less than you have.
He's
Let's
still doing
please
it.
continue on. The issue of
No.
race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president's ever said anything like that.
Finish the statement.
It is whose
After he
sir.
denounced the
Second
white
point I
supremacy
make,
nonsense,
Is that when
then said
Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was
there
killed,
were very fine people.
there was a
He was
peaceful
not talking
protest in
about
front of the White House. What did
people
he
are
do?
stupid.
He came out of his bunker,
Specifically
had the
Biden.
military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact
Not the
is that
Grim
you have to
Reaper
look
that's
at what
in
he
charge of world
talks about.
virus days.
You have to look at what he did, and what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why
I don't
should
believe that.
Americans
No, it's-
trust you
I think the
over
past
your
administration
opponent
did
to deal with
worse
he
racism?
did a crime
for the
bill,
African American community
1994,
than
where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it.
that-
Joe.
No, sir, it's his
That
2
was
minutes.
So
Clinton.
you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at
Spot
any
on.
place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day, and they put up their hands, and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left, and they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right.
Wow.
I want to return to
I
the
am-
question
Boom.
of race.
Yeah, boom. That was
Vice
good.
President Biden,
I am
after
really
the grand jury in the
surprised that-
Breonna Taylor
I am
case
surprised
decided
when
not to charge any
Trump
of the
comes
police
across
with homicide. You
intelligent
said it
and
raises the
articulate
question,
without a
quote,
teleprompter.
whether justice
I am
could be
Seriously,
very
and reasonable. I was
in
shocked.
America. Do you believe that there is a
I know.
And
I'm
not
like,
condescending in me,
Maybe he-
really.
maybe he should be-
blacks in this country?
Yes, there
No,
is
maybe he
there's
should be drug tested.
systemic injustice in this country,
I'm
in
just
education
saying.
and work and in.
I
in
thought
law
Joe would be
enforcement
more
and
together
the way
tonight.
in
I
which it's
really did.
enforced.
I
But
thought
look,
his
the vast
handlers
majority
would
of
have.
police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women.
He has
They
like
risk their
no
lives every day to
passion.
take care
There's
of us.
nothing.
But there are some bad apples, and when they occur, when they
It's
find
so
them, they have to
monotone. I
be
feel like I'm
sorted
listening
out.
to
They have
Stephen
to be
Wright,
held
except not
accountable.
funny.
They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House.
A blue ribbon
From the
commission?
Civil rights groups to the police officers, the police chiefs, and we're going to
Oh
work
my
this
God.
out. We're going to work this
Kumbaya.
out so we change the way in which
Let's
we have
hold
more
hands and sing.
transparency. And when these things
You know,
happen,
it's unfortunate,
these cops
you know,
aren't
when you're
happy
talking
to
about
see
the
what
law
happened to,
enforcement, you know how I feel about
George
that.
Floyd.
And,
These cops aren't
you know,
happy to
the
see what
Democrats
happened
just
to
don't put
Breonna
Trump
Taylor.
down on without
Most
even
don't like
uncovering
it,
the truth.
but we have to have a system where
Clear it
people
up
are held
and then letting
accountable.
everything sort
And
out
by the
and
way,
our officers
violence in response is never
ones that are
appropriate.
paying the price.
Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right, Ms.
What is peaceful?
Your ass,
When they
Biden.
run through the middle of
Violence
the
isn't
town
appropriate.
and
Why
burn
don't they
down
shut
your
down our
stores and
domestic
kill people
terrorism
all
that's
over the
going on?
place,
That
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful.
protest?
President
No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not, but
asking-
you say it is.
President
Shut
Trump, I'd
up,
like to continue
Donald.
with the issue
Just
of
for a
race. I
minute.
promise we're going to get to
Calm
the
down.
issue of law and order in a moment. This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did
Dear
you
God,
decide
it's about
to do
time.
that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended
No.
it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
Is radical,
and he would know.
What is
Oh,
radical
it's totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
You just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
You
this
don't
than he
know.
does.
Let him finish.
Here's the deal.
No, you
Here's
can't
the
do
deal.
that.
Drink.
There is
Here's
racial
the tea.
insensitivity. People
Here's
have to
Adam.
be made
That's
aware of what other people
I
feel
gotta-
like,
I gotta re-up.
what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important to people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on
What?
people who are of a different
looks
faith.
down on
They look down on
Catholics?
people who are a different
Apparently.
color.
Irish Catholics?
In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do. We can take this on and we can defeat racism
Vice
in America.
President.
Oh, I have. God
During the
bless
Obama
America.
Biden
Sensitivity
administration, There
training.
was tremendous division.
They called it diversity
There
and
was hatred.
inclusiveness.
You look at Ferguson.
How was
you
that?
look at.
Oh,
you
that
go
was
to
awful.
Many places. Look at Oakland. Look
You
what
feel
happened
guilty
in
when you
Oakland.
left?
Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened.
I found out that I
it
was a
more
terrible,
violent than
terrible
what we've been
white
seeing now.
person.
my
But the
Lord.
reason
This
is
is
that the
ridiculous.
Democrats that
awful.
run these cities.
Absolutely
I have to take those
don't wanna
tests
talk
all the
like you
time.
about law and order.
The video is
Violent crime.
frozen.
Violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law
Our
and order?
videos
I'm in
frozen.
favor of
Video's
law.
frozen?
You follow
Are you in
it, and a little
favor
bit
of law and order? Go ahead,
Yes, I'm
say
in
it.
Yeah.
favor.
You asked a question, let him finish.
Law
Okay,
and
hold on.
order.
This is-
Law and order.
Let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on. He has.
All right.
He mentioned his administration with Obama drink.
Damn it.
I got two.
Every record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic.
You know, I don't like when he's doing that because
That's
he's
exactly
basically
my
pulling
question.
it
There
away
has
and
been a
making it
dramatic
sound like,
increase in
Trump's upset
homicides
with
in
different
America
questions he's asking unless
this
it's,
summer
something on his
particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact there have been equivalent spikes.
But what's
in
funny
Republican-led cities
is
like Tulsa
violent
and
crime
Fort Worth.
did go
So the
down
question
during
is
the
this really a
Biden
party
Obama
issue?
administration.
I think it's a
But that's
party
because
issue. You can
more
bring in a
states
couple of
passed
examples, but
concealed
if you
carry.
look at
That's the
Chicago, what's
caveat
going on in
that he
Chicago,
won't
where
throw in there
53
because he's a
people were
dumbass.
shot and 8 died
You know,
shot.
we
If
had
you look at
record
New
gun
York,
sales
where
because
it's
of
going
Obama.
up like nobody's ever seen anything. The numbers are going up 100,
Yeah, that's
150,
the little
200%.
hint, the little
Crime.
asterisk
It's- it
that
is
they won't
crazy
put
what's
in
going
there
on.
because
And he
they
doesn't
don't
wanna
want
say
the
law and
truth
order
to get
because
out
he
there
can't,
that
because
actually
he'll
more
lose his
guns equals
radical
less
left
crime.
supporters,
Right.
and
Right.
once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have
We would
our
run it
suburbs
the
would
way-
be gone. By the way,
Suburbs.
our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've
He
never
would
seen.
know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead. Wait a minute.
I was raised in the suburbs. This
Are we
is not 1950s.
arguing to which the
All these
degree
dogless
we understand
integrations don't work
a friggin'
anymore.
suburb?
Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and/or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs? and their safety
Soccer, the
is his
socialist
failure to
sport.
deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to
Now
deal with
remind
the
you,
environment.
Biden is also
They're
the
being
one who
flooded.
said,
They're being burned out because
he
of
said
his
that
refusal to do anything.
poor
That's
kids
why the
are
suburbs
just
in
as
trouble.
smart
wanna
and
talk
as
about this issue
talented
of law and order,
as
though.
white
And
kids.
in the joint
So that was a direct
recommendation
quote from
that
Joe
came from
Biden.
the
So
Biden, Bernie Sanders,
They
They
that
need
for
to
what it's
play
worth.
that a lot this
you
next
talked
month.
about
Right?
reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means
let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining?
Timothy's on a
policing
roll,
mean,
dude. I
and
like
do
this
you
cat.
support the Black Lives
Timothy
Matter
Ratliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Timmy.
Timmy.
call
That's
for,
Timmy the pilot.
for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems
Sarah
they
Nichols
face.
with the potty mouth.
And I'm not. I'm totally opposed
Yeah,
to
she is.
defunding the police officers. As a matter of
But
fact,
we like
police,
her.
local
She's a
police,
crazy cat.
The only one defunding, and his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or
A
psychiatrist.
9/11
I
call?
know. How many of those do they get?
Minute, wait.
How many what are
No.
you
We
expecting,
have to have
Joe?
community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know
wants
the
to
people
have
in the communities.
the
That's
police
when
have
crime
backup with
went down.
psychologists,
It
social
didn't go
workers.
up, it
Could you
went
imagine?
down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're
in every-
talking about,
that-
Chris.
Remember,
That's not what they're-
the
that's
Democrats'
exactly
mantra,
funding
government
that
will
leads.
solve
That
the
is
problem.
not true.
He doesn't have any law.
Yeah, I could see it now.
Review
Someone's
court.
going to
He has
jump.
no law
You know,
enforcement.
oh,
That's not
here,
true.
Almost
he's
That's
going to
not-
take care of it for
Look,
you.
Oh,
Yeah.
who do you
I
have?
mean,
Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go
Look,
ahead.
look.
Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do
No,
anything.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll wait.
I think, gentlemen, I think I'm going to take back the
There aren't.
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight
Now he
days
needs to ask
of
for a
protests,
definition of
which I
protest
think you would
versus
agree with,
riot,
peaceful
so we can
protests.
delineate
Many of those
between
turned
the
into
two.
riots. Mr. Vice
Good
President,
point.
you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted, and anyone who commits it.
But
should
you've
be
never called for the people.
Didn't
leader-
he
excuse
say
me, sir.
Breonna Taylor
You have
should have been
never called for the
prosecuted?
leaders in Portland.
Did you hear that
and
soundbite?
in Oregon to call
Because
bring in
they-
the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots?
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here,
Oh, really?
here's the
But
thing.
I sent
sir,
in
no,
the
wait, I
U.S.
asked
Marshals
Trump
to
went-
get the
Trump
killer of
went
a young
to
man in the
Oregon.
middle of the street. They shot him, and
Right.
for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump,
anything. I
please
had to send
interrupt
in the U.S. Marshals.
President
They
Trump,
took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, you know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that.
I don't-
And so here's the.
All right.
But here's the point.
Go
The
ahead.
point is that that's what he is keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to end this, button up this
I think he's
segment, I'll
talking
give you
about
a
the
minute to
media
answer,
now.
Sir, you have repeatedly
Wait, I
criticized.
have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have
His statement.
repeatedly.
Wait,
you have
just 1
no,
second.
you've been talking
He
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love
you
to
know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
You
we
know, if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
We would
could
very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd send in the
I'm-
National Guard. It would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
But they
good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the,
No, they
the
don't.
vice president
No,
for
they
not
don't. Portland-
specifically
No.
calling
My daughter
out
lives, and it's
Antifa
absolutely
and other
horrific
left-wing
in Portland.
extremist groups. But
The
are you
Chaz
willing
slash
tonight
Chop
to
did it
condemn
in for
white
me. They don't
supremacists and
want-
militia
they don't
groups
want peace and they don't wanna
to
calm it
say
down.
That they
Right.
need
Well,
to
they don't.
stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
Do it.
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say,
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
what are you- what
If
are you-
look-
what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right-wing
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director.
This
Yeah.
is a left-wing
Go ahead,
problem.
White
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
Not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
his FBI
Please.
director said.
Well, you know what?
No,
He's
no,
wrong.
we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next.
Everybody
We're
gives
moving.
you
When a bat
advice
hits
in
you
your
over the head, that's
administration.
not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is bad.
administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
Anybody think Chris Wallace has had this under control at any point
Antifa
tonight?
is a dangerous
All right.
No,
No.
absolutely
No.
not.
He knew what he was in for, though.
Them. They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking At both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, where I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got
Still
a
kind of a mess,
91%
though.
approval rating
Yeah,
at the
that's
VA,
true.
our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president, you can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term.
Time, sir.
300 judges, it's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump?
this
You have 2
president-
minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to
Drink.
fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession.
But
With
booming.
regard to being weaker.
A booming
You were
economy.
also
Did they ever get over 1%
And
GDP growth in the entire time they were in office?
He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses
No.
to even say anything to
You were
Putin
also
about
asked
the
to cure
bounty on the
cancer,
heads of American soldiers.
but you
His
didn't.
son got $3.5 million.
I'm going to keep bringing that up.
And by the way,
Mr.
my
President,
son,
wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
he never keeps his word. Can you add
No,
back
no,
He's
I'm
a
not
person
asking.
that's
That
not
was a
telling
rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you
Okay.
may have.
All right.
Reclaiming my time.
So, 30. We're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion
Did we just
more.
hear this?
What's wrong with
That's
that?
what happens in
Yeah.
a booming
You and
economy,
your home, you got
dumbass.
Less. You're
Yeah,
Hit
but
the
did you-
hit the reset button. He's
Yeah, I
skipping.
feel like
terms
I've
of
just gone
being
back.
more violent.
Yep,
When we were in
we've come back
office, there was
around. Somebody needs to
15%
reset
less
the robot
violence
that's in his head.
America than there is today. He's president
I
of the
don't
United
think they
States.
gave him
It's on
Adderall. I
his
think they gave him
watch. And
Valium.
with regard to more divided,
He
the
would be
nation
on the
can't stay divided.
floor
We can't be
in a
this
drooling
way.
mess with
And
Val.
speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being
Oh,
and-
he's
and
going with the
soldiers.
deceased son.
Oh,
son
you called them
was
stupid
in
bastards,
Iraq.
so
He
you probably
spent a year
shouldn't.
there.
Yeah.
He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're
I
talking
don't know.
about.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Ooh,
Hunter got
heartstrings.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
for
wasn't dishonorably
cocaine
discharged.
use. And he didn't have a job
Oh!
until you became
Oh!
vice president. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine,
that's
in
what
China,
Joe's taking.
in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other
No,
places.
there's no way he's
He
on
made a
coke.
fortune,
My son.
and he didn't have a
My
job.
son,
No
like a lot of
freaking
people-
way.
Like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why
I'm
was he
proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions of
But he
dollars?
wasn't given tens of millions of
given
dollars. That
tens
is
of
totally.
millions of
That's
dollars.
totally.
Yeah, he was only given a
We've
few
already
million,
been
not tens of millions.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial.
I know a lot of people are ragging on.
$3.5 million from the
Let's talk
mayor of
about-
Moscow.
let's talk
Right.
I know a lot of people are ragging on Chris Wallace.
Why did he get it?
Who do you think would have moderated this better?
I wouldn't have taken this job.
You know,
No,
what was
I think
the,
he's doing fine.
What was the rep
Izzo
that
should have
was on
moderated
Celebrity
this.
Deathmatch?
raging now. They have
Say that
burned
again, Adam?
millions of acres.
Celebrity
They
Deathmatch
have
on MTV
displaced
back in the late
hundreds of
90s. Who was
Oh,
thousands
the
I
of
remember
people.
that.
When state
Let's get it
officials
on.
were
Who was
putting
that
the
guy?
fires
Because
on
that guy
climate
could
change,
probably
Mr. President,
moderate
you said,
this a
I
little
don't
better.
think the
Chris,
science
invite him to
knows. Over
Polls
your
Without
4
Goals, 'cause
years,
they do that
you
celebrity
have pulled the
deathmatch a
U.S.
lot.
out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at
Right.
our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole
Tinder?
forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees, the billion tree
He says
project.
immaculate.
Billion.
Does he mean
Very exciting.
immaculate?
That human
Immaculate.
pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of
I
this
think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they live their forest cities. They're
100%.
called forest cities.
It's true.
They maintain their
It's
forests.
We have really good-
100% true. It's
We have good
the,
management here.
Major country.
the
It's a forest
entire
city.
West
He said,
Coast
"Sir,
is
we
nothing but a
have
tinderbox."
trees that are far
The state of
more
Texas
big,
has more
much easier
forest
than
acreage than
California.
the state of
There shouldn't
California,
be that
but
problem. I spoke with the
California
governor about it. I'm
burns
getting along
and
very well with the
Texas does
governor.
not. Why
But I
is
said,
that?
You know, at some point,
We do. We
every year have
in Mississippi, we
hundreds
do a lot of
thousands
control burns.
acres of land just
Yep.
burned to the
Alabama,
ground.
too.
That's burning down
Oh,
because of a lack
you're in
of
Mississippi.
management.
I'm in
Do you believe
Alabama.
in the science of climate change?
I'm in Alabama,
Why
Leroy.
have
I'm
you
in Alabama. Why haven't we had drinks
clean
together?
power plant
Uh-oh.
which limited carbon emission power plants?
I'm ready.
Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have
Yeah,
you
you can't be
relaxed
too far
fuel
from you. He's only
economy
about an hour and a half
standards
from
that are gonna
Mississippi,
create
I
more
think.
pollution from cars
Really?
and
Not
trucks.
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a
how
much
close are you
safer
to
car,
Montgomery?
And you're talking about a
Oh,
tiny
we're like
difference.
4
And then what
hours.
would happen because of the
Yeah,
cost
I'm
of the
3
car?
hours
You
from
would have
Montgomery.
at least
East or
double
west?
and triple the number of cars
North.
purchased. We have the
East.
old slugs out there that are 10, 12
Okay.
years old. If you did that,
We're
the
on,
car would be safer,
Vanessa and I
it would
are
be
Gulf
much
Coast.
cheaper by
But in the case of
$3,500.
California,
Oh,
they simply
I'm,
Take a lot of cars
With-
off
with-
the market
I'm-
because
I
people
am
would be able to afford a car.
1 hour
Now,
from the ocean.
So, and by the way, we're going
Give
to
or
see how
take.
that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me. Many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over
He's
the
a
place
puppy.
for an extra.
Best thing
little
I've seen
bit
all night.
Okay.
of
He doesn't
gasoline.
wanna stay.
And,
He's like,
and
I'm
I'm
out.
okay with electric cars too.
Oh,
I think
we're
I'm all
having
for
show and
electric
tell?
cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just
All right.
crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about
Climate
a
change
concern.
record.
He was one of my good boys.
$2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact,
Absolutely
during our
wrong.
administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another.
Where's my bullshit sounder?
Coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired
I
plant.
think
in
I got
America.
rid of it.
Yeah,
They're going
everybody
to
has
move
it.
to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build
The federal
a
fleet's going to be
economy
electric
that, in
cars.
fact, is going to
So
provide
criminals
for
just need
the
diesels
ability
to be able to
us
outrun
take
or,
4
you know,
million
outlast
buildings
the
and make
electric
sure
car.
that they,
They
in
walk
fact,
faster
are
than the electric car.
weatherized in a
Sweet.
way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now.
It will
to
emit
create
What?
less
thousands
gas and oil.
thousands of jobs. We can
Electric
get to
car will?
net
Yeah.
zero in terms of energy production by
Duh.
2035. Not only not costing people jobs,
Net
creating
zero in
jobs,
15 years and not
creating
cost
millions
anybody
of
any
good-paying
jobs.
jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage. By having a new infrastructure that
Yeah,
in fact,
prevailing
is
wage won't be
green.
15
And the
bucks an
first
hour
thing
at that
I will do,
point.
I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart.
Good.
And talk about someone
What?
who has
What is all
no
falling apart?
relationship
The Paris
with
Accord. We
foreign
left and it fell
policy.
apart.
Brazil, the rainforest of Brazil
Good.
are being
Yeah.
torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something
Then
about
why do we
that,
have to pay
I would
taxes
be
on
gathering
it?
up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion. Say, here's $20
All the
billion.
carbon that was saved in the last 5 years has been lost
tearing
to the
down
fires
the forest.
burning in
And if you
California.
don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument?
He wants
that-
to
that
give
President
$20
Trump
billion
basically
to him to
says
get him
you
to
have
stop cutting down
balance
trees in the rainforest?
environmental interests and economic interests.
What?
And he's drawn his line.
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it
Did
being
he
a
say
problem.
problem?
Methane. This is a
Problem.
guy who says
Problem.
that you don't have to have mileage standards.
glad
for
we don't have that
automobiles
problem.
exist now. This is the guy
Problem.
who says
Problem.
that. Well, the fact that
Methane or methamphetamine.
About the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion
problem.
or $20 billion.
That
as you
Green
say.
New Deal is a shitstorm.
$100
It is.
trillion.
I'm talking about
Where they want to rip down
Go for a
buildings
minute and then you can go.
and rebuild
And now
the
we won't be able to hear
buildings.
anything.
It
They
doesn't make
talk over
sense.
each other.
Where airplanes are out of business,
That's it.
where two-car systems are out, where they
Not
want to
true.
take out the cows too.
Not
That's not
true.
true either. Right?
Not the cow.
This is a 100
Cows
trillion.
can't
That's
live together,
more
pick
money
up cows.
than our country could make.
But not the
in
cowbells.
100 years if we're going
not the case.
All right,
No,
let me-
I need
let
more
me-
cowbell.
Cowbells.
Because I actually, wait a minute, sir.
Get
I
out of my head.
actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2
Hello,
million
Corey Lee
homes
Wilson.
over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying jobs.
Is it
Thousands
thousands
and
or millions? Because
millions.
there's a really big difference, bud.
That's a
The fact
huge
is, it's going to
number.
create
That
Yeah.
millions
billion?
of good-paying jobs.
Could be
And these
10
tax incentives to people
or
to
100 million,
weatherize,
whatever.
which he
And
wants to
these
get
millions of
rid
jobs, they're
of.
going to be an
It's
awful
gonna
lot like
make the
Obama's
economy
shovel-ready
much safer.
jobs.
Look how much we're paying now to deal with
minute,
the
he's gonna
hurricane.
Cash for
I could deal with,
clunkers.
by the way, he has
Yeah,
an answer for hurricanes.
but
He
you
should
didn't
give-
build
maybe
that.
should drop a nuclear
He's going to give
weapon on
tax
them. They may-
incentives to the rich people.
He did
But,
say
ju-
that.
but that's evil. It's
and
wrong. You
here's
want
the
to
deal.
tax
You
them,
make a-
not
We-
give them tax
we are going to
incentives.
Yeah,
in a
rich people
position
are
where
bad.
we can create
Rusty.
hard,
The left
good
talks out of
jobs
both
by
sides of their
making
mouth,
sure
bud.
The environment
Wow.
is clean. And we all are in
Yeah.
good
And their
shape.
ass.
Sorry.
We spend billions of dollars now, billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these
Weird.
storms that come through and wipe out entire
Where are the
sections and
frickin'
counties
seas
in
rising?
Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global
There's never been
warming.
storms in
We
Iowa
make up
before?
15%
Nope.
of
Apparently they're all brand new and they're
problem.
Trump's fault.
We, in fact, but
Damn it.
the rest of
Never.
what we got to get them
Never.
to come along. That's what
The
we
Gulf
have to get
Coast has
back
never seen a
into-
hurricane before.
Back into
ever.
No,
Oh,
brand new,
gentlemen,
brand new
Chris,
thing.
so why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the word?
Bingo.
China sends up real dirt.
We circle
into
back
there.
to that.
Russia does,
China.
India does, they all do.
Shouldn't you be
We're
drinking when
supposed to
he
be
says
good. And by
China?
the way,
Shouldn't be-
he made a
No, he's
couple
got
of
to say China
statements.
virus.
The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is
You ruined
not
it
my
yourself.
plan.
That's
The Green
well, you
New
want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
I want to rebuild every
If he knew anything about, if he knew
Gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about,
statement about the military. He said I said something about
He
the
needs a
military.
cowbell.
He and his
If he could
friends
just
made it
cowbell
up,
it,
and
they
then they
should
went
have.
with it. I never said it.
Okay.
that is
What
not
he
true.
did is
Here you go, Chris Wallace. I'm going to give you a hand.
called the
Mr. Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
And he
did
said
not
it on
say
It didn't work.
He said
Whoa.
stupid bastards.
You did too, stay stupid bastards. I just played it a minute
Play
ago.
it.
Mr. Vice President
I did already.
did.
answered his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings. was the final question.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your
Cost.
environmental
New
changes
Deal-
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're
No,
not
He
it
just
will
said that
not.
wasn't his plan.
No,
Our
no, that
political
is
plan.
not.
Okay,
No,
if we're
that-
having an after party, I got to
There
stop.
is
No, I
no-
don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't? Oh, well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
I
He
support
just said it was
the
There-
Green Deal.
there is
Left,
no
son.
I
empirical
support
data
the Biden
to-
plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment, election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election, and what are you prepared to do over the next 5
Getting mad.
plus weeks, because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people
Look.
vote. They should go to iwillvote.com, decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security director, and as well as the FBI director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two,
I don't
we're going to
understand.
make sure
Absentee
that those
balloting
people
is
who
way
want to
different
vote in
than
person
mail-in.
are
I
able
don't
to vote
understand
because
if we can
enough
stand in
poll
line at
watchers are there
Walmart
to
with a mask
make sure
on.
they
Why
can
can't we go in
socially
the poll?
distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to
Quick, let's
scare
conflate
people into
mail-in
thinking
and
that it's not
absentee
gonna be
again.
legitimate.
Quick, confuse
Show up
people.
and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your
Yeah,
state,
you bet I
vote
will.
early. If you're able to vote,
Vote
in
early
person,
and
vote in
often.
person, vote whatever
Oh,
way is the
I
best
forgot about
way
that
for
part.
Oh,
you.
wait, I gotta
Because
show you
will.
something.
He cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not, when the votes are counted and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way,
Yeah.
if in fact he says he's
Maybe
not
I'll wait
sure
for
what
the
he's going
after party
accept,
to show
well, let me
this,
tell you
but
something. It doesn't matter.
I'll do it both
because if we
times.
get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in
My
power. It won't
election
happen. It won't happen.
for
So vote.
in case
Just
I want to
make
vote by
sure you
mail from
understand
Mississippi.
You have it in your control.
Here's
to
my
determine
registration.
What this country's going to look like the next 4 years.
Here's
Is
my
it going to
also
change and
a
get
voter
4 more years
registration
of these
from
lies?
Rhode Island.
You don't live in Rhode
President, 2
Island.
minutes.
So
Nope.
when I listened to Joe
Yeah,
Very
talking
cool.
about a transition,
But I could vote twice if I
there's
wanted
been no
to.
transition from when I won. I won that
Wow.
election. And if you look
Interesting.
at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look
Yep.
at all of the different people,
I got 'em
there
both
was
right
no
here.
transition because they came after me trying to do a coup.
that big
Rhode
secret?
They
Island.
came after me spying
And what
on my
kind of-
campaign.
Yeah.
They started from the day I won and even before
Isn't
I
it
won.
the
From
Rhode
the day I
Island
came
Melissa
down the
would vote
escalator
this
with our
way,
First
and
Lady.
Melissa
They
would vote
were a
this way?
disaster.
Yeah,
They were a
I-
disgrace to
I
our
took
country.
care of
And we've
all of
caught
this
'em.
in
We've caught 'em
2013.
all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the
I
way, you
changed
gave
my
the idea for the
residency.
Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at
Got
that
it.
because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say, you have to have your ballot in by November 10th. November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that,
sir,
all run by
2
Democrats.
minutes is 2 minutes.
All run by Democrats. It's
President Trump,
it's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so, because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what are you going to do about it? There are millions of ballots going out right now.
What you do is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot, and that's okay, or you go and vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people...
You go and vote. You go and vote,
but
like they used to in the old.
Millions of people.
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're
Trump,
sending
let
it
him
in,
ask the
sending
question,
it back, and you're
dude.
sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well. This is not going.
There's no evidence of that. Shut up, Joe.
Wow. For the last decade or more, 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I want to continue with you on this, Vice President Biden.
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a statement like that.
Excuse me. Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a
Here's the
ballot
deal, drink.
and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have.
Yeah, how are you guys
someone
doing, by
say
the
that
way?
This is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct
I'm further
I.
impressed that we made it this far
For,
without you and Rusty and
testify,
Melissa slurring
say
it all.
who they voted for. Say it's
I'm
you.
real-
That
I'm
is
real
totally
close.
legitimate.
Real close.
Gentlemen, I have a final
Sending
question.
and swamping the system. You know it can't be done. You know it can't. And already
All
there's
right,
been
so now
fraud.
Mail service delivers
wait a minute, gentlemen, and the
185
final
million
question
pieces of mail a
is,
day.
in 8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking.
It's
in
a
8 states,
disgrace.
election workers are ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and
Yes.
flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks.
Could be months.
Until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you
I'm
go first.
urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100%.
I wonder if those
on
poll
board.
watchers
But
were
if I
confused.
see
Did they think they
tens
were
of
going
thousands
to
of
be
ballots
watching
being
the poll
manipulated,
dancers?
I can't go along with that.
Could
And
very
I'll tell
well
you
be.
what,
What does that mean?
from a
not go
common
along?
sense,
Does that mean
I'll
you're going
tell
to
you
tell
what
your
it means.
people to take
Maybe
the
they
lead?
didn't
You have a
follow the no
fraudulent
touching
election.
rule.
You're
And what
sending
are you
out
gonna do?
80
And
million
what will you
ballots.
do about that?
They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two,
Okay.
they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count
Frank,
the ballots,
there's
as
a
you
deal.
pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until
I'm
Election
out.
Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since at the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established.
It's-
Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I asked
and how-
you had an opportunity
Look
to
at Carolyn
respond.
Monroe.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept
Damn it.
and he will too. You know why?
Wow.
Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a
I wonder if he'll
president
do
for
a better
Democrats
job
and
of supporting the outcome than
And this
Hillary did
guy-
for the
I
last
wanna
4 years.
say Honest
Okay.
ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of this. This is the end of this debate.
Honest ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
To be
I wonder if
continued
they're gonna
as
shut it
in
down.
more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University.
There's not going to be another
And the
one.
Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored
there
by the
might be one
Commission on
more,
Presidential
but then
Debates,
there'll be 3.
will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake
Same-
City. The 2
same
vice
time, same
presidential
bat channel?
nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris.
If
Yeah,
they
no
actually
drinking.
show
Who's
up,
gonna-
I'll do it
That
again.
night. We hope you watch.
Yeah.
Who's going to moderate?
Until then, thank you. And
I
good night.
I could just imagine everybody's not going to answer the phones around that.
Rachel Maddow.
Oh, no.
And thus
Really?
the first presidential
Oh, no.
debate of 2020 concludes
She's
a night
so
of
handsome.
chaos and interruption.
No, I don't want that guy moderating a debate at all.
Okay, real quick about the Green New Deal. The Green
Do it.
New Deal
Wait,
immediately
We're going to invite more people in.
and I'm
Yeah,
saying
we will.
immediately
But right now we're still live.
outlaws fracking.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin factory, and I don't know if I have any friends watching, but the Wisconsin factory that he visited, I used to work at.
Really?
They make transmissions for fracking equipment. Have to understand, if the Green New Deal passes, that leaves that factory. Your job is done. if they pass the Green New Deal, the automotive industry at that facility is done. You can say goodbye to 50% of your jobs.
Wow.
I think that's
Guaranteed.
why it looked like a Trump rally outside the aluminum foundry when Biden spoke there.
That is 100% correct, because people don't understand what happens when the Green New Deal passes.
Yeah, I saw several photographs of what the crowd outside of the facility looked like. They shut the
There were
facility down.
20 to 1.
They shut the facility down. They sent all of the employees home pretty much, except for
True.
a hand-picked few. And
A
they had
hand-picked few, might I add, who are, and I know the people because I worked with them for 14 years, they are absolutely 100% Democrats.
Wow.
Yeah,
So they
one of
had
them was
leadership?
running as a Democrat in a completely separate election a year before.
They had leadership, they had Democrats, they had the press there. They didn't let any of the employees or anybody with an opposing view in there. It was 20 to 1 outside Trump supporters.
Yep,
Crazy.
that is 100% official. I'll go on record.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
hey, and the truth is here. So.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the debate coverage. Should they actually do a second one? I'm doubtful. We'll do it again because I enjoyed it.
Minus the drinking game shit, because tomorrow's going to be rough.
Yeah,
No,
you're going to be in
I'll
rough
do
shape.
the drinking. I'll take one for the team next
All right,
time.
Vanessa will do the drinking next time.